Kia ora koutou, and welcome to Carterton Conversations. I'm Mayor Steve Cretney, your local air guitar specialist, and I'm joined today by our Deputy Mayor Grace, who I congratulate on the birth of a new baby, Atticus.
Yes, baby Atticus has been around for a few weeks now. Very exciting. And this is episode 2 of our podcast.
Which is fantastic.
Look, they want us back.
I'm not sure the community said that, but hey, it's a bit early. Carterton Conversations, as you're probably aware, is where we share updates on our key discussions that have happened around the council table. Today's episode we'll cover off a few things that happened in our council meeting on the 13th of May, and we have a guest coming in, our CE Geoff Hamilton, who will provide some enlightenment to our amalgamation discussions.
So really looking forward to that conversation. I think we are aware that there's a lot of information out there in the public at the moment, a lot of questions around what it all means with amalgamation, and so we'll dig into that with Geoff in the second part of this conversation. But first off, we're going to kick into our council meeting and what we discussed there, which first off, we had a community survey go out in the last few months, and we had a great number of respondents, and we had some really good feedback, which was super encouraging. And if you want to talk about a little bit of some of the hot takes of our community survey, some of the areas to improve and some of the highlights.
Well, I was first of all, I was really grateful to I think it was 760 responses we received. I just want to thank the community for that. It really helps us with knowing where we have shortfalls and so forth, and where we're doing really well. And it's really showing that Carterton is a cool place to live, just with the feedback. And even for me, seeing the lift in governance, I think is fantastic. So, yeah.
Yeah, in the past when we've looked at these results, there's been like pretty stellar results in a few things like the event centre and the library, the pool, things like that people seem to really enjoy. And then the governance aspect has always been a bit of a tail, whereas this time the support for our council tables increased, which is really exciting. And I think, it's probably a big part to do with our mayor who likes the air guitar on stage. And if anyone hasn't seen that video, it's really worth looking at on the Carterton notice board.
Thanks, Grace.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just on that, the Waitewater Event Centre, fantastic shows, and I highly recommend just coming along and joining in the experience. Because rock tenors was absolutely amazing, and I'm really shocked by the quality of some of these shows that are drawn to Carterton. So our event centre is actually fantastic at drawing in those quality events. So our recycling and so forth scored very well in the survey as well, which I'm very grateful for the community on the way they go about recycling and using the bins and putting in the right rubbish in the right bins, so we don't end up sending recycling to the centre and it just gets thrown in the tip face.
It's one of those things, and I think it's our Policy and Projects Committee, we get these reports on our recycling and rubbish use, and it's amazing. Most people won't realise this because they don't read our lovely reports, but we have so much more recycling than we do rubbish in Carterton, so we are really doing quite well in that green environmental space, which is pretty cool. Like I think I might have mentioned in our last podcast, I'm on this committee for the Wellington region, and I think Carterton we go above and beyond our region in terms of success in that waste space, which is really cool. And obviously, the survey shows that people are happy with what we do there.
Absolutely. And another thing that they have let us know is they want to see a bit more work in the environmental space and with our cycleways and walkways. And so those things are going to be part of our long-term plan discussions, which we might touch on in this, or maybe in our next podcast we might touch on long-term plan discussions.
I know it's one of those things when we were looking through the survey results and it's talking about, we're not happy with the cycleways and walkways, we'd like more of that. It's something that Steve and I have talked about a lot and our council table talk about a lot. Those things come with a big cost, and when we're trying to balance that rates affordability versus the nice things like cycleways, it's a tricky one. But I mean, it has been shown through the survey that's something that the community really wants. So it will be a fought over conversation, I'm sure, around our council table when we're trying to figure out what makes the cut for our long-term plan, which we'll be coming out with next year.
Absolutely, and if we can get the bridge across the Waihine across the line, not that we're funding it, but if the community group that's trying to get the funding, if they can get that across the line, we certainly need to look at being able to connect that bridge through to Carterton and then potentially up to Marsden. So I think that's a massive positive for the community if we can get that across the line, for drawing in tourists and everything. Yeah,
it's one of those things that Destination Wairarapa talk to us about a lot is the people that come over the hill from Wellington and they so far get to Greytown and they're sort of stopping there and trying to get them to keep coming up through our land and come up through Carterton and support our businesses would be great. And apparently the bridge is the way to do it. So if you've got a few spare dollars, you'll be asked to contribute to that bridge at some point.
We're looking for philanthropists to come on board and throw some dollars.
It's not pocket change, but hopefully it will be something that group can mobilise some support, because it would be awesome for our town.
Yeah, well, we've got some incredible people with a lot of money in the Wairarapa, Bill Foley and Peter Jackson and James Cameron.
Yeah.
Come forward and build us a bridge.
Yeah, there you go. Great. Name drop.
Let's move on to our annual plan. And I think that was a real success, hard work in behind the scenes of our management team and staff and so forth to get us to a point of going out with a 3.2% rate rise. I just think it's outstanding. Our year 3, I think, in the long-term plan was projected to be about 5.8. So,
yeah, really exciting. That I mean, I'm sure for the community, it seems like all councils do is plan, and it's kind of true. We sort of have one year you focus on a plan, the next year you have a long-term plan, the next year you have an annual plan again, and the cycle just keeps going. So it's constantly looking ahead, and then as new councillors come in, changing priorities and that kind of thing. But we have just done this annual plan, and I was very proud to vote for it, because in the past there's been some questions I've had with budgets, but this is a fantastic annual plan, and we really have seen our staff here just really looking under every rock to find some savings, and there's been changes in staffing and all sorts of things to try and get that number down as much as we can. And it's something that it's a work in progress. We're not finished yet. It's continually trying to figure out those cost savings for our community, because we know that times are tough. And I mean, you go to the supermarket and buy some butter and bread, and it's $30 later almost. It's ridiculous. And so we know that we need to make sure that our rates aren't another headache for the community. So yeah, I think it's a good place. We're standing out in the whole country. Actually,
I agree. I think we're like 3rd or 4th in the country for lowest rates. I think our staff have really got on board with different, I'm not sure if I can call them directives, but if they need to move around town, they're using scooters and different things, and trying to avoid using vehicles as much with the cost of diesel and petrol and so forth. So also we haven't lowered our levels of service. We've retained the levels of service. We're still moving forward with the Carrington Park upgrade, which, as you know, is funded through financial contributions, and the wastewater treatment plant inlet upgrade is still going ahead, which is about $5.6 or $5.5 million worth of work, which will really make a difference to our wastewater storage.
Yep.
So.
And it's the plan is obviously with this transition through Three Waters, we're trying to get the water infrastructure in as best position as we can to hand it over to that entity to make sure that going forward our town can continue to have that good, reliable water. And it's a big project, and it's due to finish just before the transition. So we've got to keep those guys moving, because it's a tight deadline with that July 2027 changeover.
Absolutely. So with that, it kind of feeds well into the quarterly performance report, which is it's a summary that's produced every few months, and it outlines the council's progress against council goals and budgets and projects and key performance indicators, and it provides us and the community with transparent updates of how we're doing in council, and I think it feeds through into the community survey as well. All of this is indicating that the council is moving forward in a really good space.
Yeah.
So, look, we've touched on those things. We've got a few things happening in our community, which we all love, things happening in our community, and one of them is our Charles Rooking Awards,
Yes.
which are happening next Saturday, June the 6th. The finalists have been announced, and I could quickly go through those.
Yep.
We could do one each if
Oh,
you
go on
like.
then.
So I'll start with the Arts, Culture and Heritage Award. The 3 finalists were Carterton District Historical Society, Madeline Slavic and Wayne Pito.
Community Spirit and Service Awards. Finalists are Carterton Youth Village, Debbie Mansfield, Marlene Harris, Rosie Swanson, and the Wairapa Balloons.
Environment and Sustainability Award, Forest and Birds Fensham Work Group, Mangataderi Restoration Society, and Tina Petite.
And Health, Wellbeing and Active Recreation Award. The finalists are Alex Terrace, Good Lives Wairapa, and Riven Rock Mountain Bike Park. Yeah.
And finally, the Youth Award, which is Aidan Stapleton, Carden Youth Council, and Holly Jacobson. And yeah, we're looking forward to Miriam Akamo,
Yeah,
who's going to be the host for the evening, and tickets are for sale. It's not sold out as yet, but Miriam is also going to be joining last year's supreme winner of the Charles Rooking Award, Simone Grayson, in a couch session, I suppose you'd call it, where she's going to have a Q&A and talk to Miriama about her experiences that have shaped her life, which I think will be fantastic. And tickets are available for that for $20, and that's on the Saturday afternoon prior to the Charles Rooking Community Awards at 1 p.m. So if you're interested in that, jump on board.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really amazing night. And I believe Steve will be there in all his finery, handing out awards. Hopefully the air guitar stays away this time, but you never know.
You do never know. Another thing I want to touch on is Waitī Waters. As you know, our 3 councils in the Wairarapa plus Tararua set up or agreed to set up a new waters entity, and they actually have a website now, and it's www.waitiwaters.co.nz, and their first newsletter's just come out, and it'll introduce the board, led by Adrian Young-Cooper, and the program team, and it will highlight the next steps for the new water company. So I think that's quite exciting, and yeah, the community should jump on and have a good look at that.
Yeah, it's really important. This is our biggest piece of infrastructure that our council is responsible for, and it's being put into this new council-controlled organisation with our neighbouring councils. And the governance has been established, as Mayor Steve just said. They've currently got applications out for the new CEO of this organisation. It's going to be a really, really important part of our Wairarapa district going forward, our region going forward. So find out some information on the website, see what's happening. We are still going to be obviously involved with our waters. We're still the shareholders of this organisation, but it's going to be their baby going forward. So yeah, head onto the website and have a look.
Right, and now we're going to be joined by Carterton District Council's Chief Executive, Geoff Hamilton. Welcome, Geoff. Nice to see you.
Sure, your worship. Good, Grace.
Hello.
So Geoff has joined us to help us spread the news about amalgamation, or deep dive into it a little bit. And the government's announcement on the 5th of May, a fast track process that we can potentially take. So what can you tell us about that, Geoff?
Where do you start?
Where do you start? Well, let's go back a few years. So last local government re-amalgamation, any kind of amalgamation, was in the late 80s. And since then there's been a process in place in legislation that enables councils to merge or amalgamate. And that process is overseen by the Local Government Commission, and has been there for about 40 years. Unfortunately, that process is quite cumbersome and hasn't really resulted in any serious amalgamations across our country. And so the government, I think with the Head Start process, is saying they acknowledge that the current process with Local Government Commission is cumbersome, is slow, and isn't working. And so they're providing an opportunity for councils who do want to move first to do that right now. So that's what the Head Start process is in a nutshell, an opportunity to bypass the current legislation and say, here's a proposal that we as councils wish to do, and we're in agreement. We would like to proceed with that, and the government are offering to introduce bespoke legislation to make that happen.
So I think we certainly acknowledge councils changed in the 80s. The Waitī has been through this process a few times. The big super city with our neighbouring mayor. And do you think that the information that was gathered in 2017 is valuable to the decision that we're making now?
Yeah, I think there were two attempts, 2013 and 2017, and I think potentially the 2017 attempt to amalgamate the district councils was a little bit tainted by the 2013 sort of super city amalgamation. It's quite different now. We will have lost our waters entities. So that will transfer to Waitī, and I think it's really important that we reconsider the fact that we don't really need three councils after we've all lost 40% of our business. That, to me, that's the telling difference between the previous amalgamation proposals and now, is we have changed quite substantially. The government is signalling further change, and I think it's an opportune time for us to reconsider how we operate.
Yeah.
So a couple of the words that they used were simplicity and efficiency. So how do you see those two words fitting into across our three councils? And I know we've had difficulties in the past with trying to get shared services across the line. Where do you see the main areas that we can look to consolidate and save our communities?
Really good question. I think scale, and we hear words about consolidation, we hear words about simplicity and scale, and I think we can do that across a couple of areas. So across the Wairarapa we have 3 mayors, 3 chief executives, 28 councillors, management teams. So I think there is scale benefits in those sort of management structures, and we can enable that. I think there is scale benefits in assets, and we found that with Waitī Waters, particularly with networked assets. There is scale that we can achieve in those sorts of things, and we found the same with roading, with our joint operation Rumahanga Roads with South Wairarapa. So there is scale benefits when you talk about asset, and particularly networked asset. I think where local voice comes in is where we have a service that we deliver in the local community. Libraries is a really good example. That's quite unique to each individual area. Some of our services, our community services, are really important to the local community. So I think we need to balance scale and efficiency at a macro level with how we can deliver at a community level with the services that are most important to those in that community.
It was so well said. I'm sorry, I'm jotting down notes. I've got mum brain, so I'm just making sure I take down thoughts while I've got them. One of the things I think that has been the consistent stumbling block in terms of all of these shared services, and every time we have these conversations and we have joint agreements with the Destination Wairarapa, Business Wairarapa, our library work, roading, we've had all these things that we've tried to merge together, but we're not at one governance table, and that's been the consistent issue. And you've got 3 different tables of councillors, and it's all well and good for the mayors to have our chats every so often, but it's not the same. We can't commit to things that our councillors then agree to. So you've got 3 different tables who make their minds up, and they're each elected for their own populations, and we are elected to represent Carterton, and they're elected for South Wairarapa, and they're elected for Masterton, and so there's always going to be that tension. And I think until we have the governance sitting together at one table, we're always going to have trouble getting those shared services to actually mesh together properly. But it's really tricky because while we have these somewhat artificial boundaries between our towns, a lot of people think, I'm in the Wairarapa, I don't care what town I'm part of or what electorate or district, or they just see we're part of the Wairarapa. But there has been investment historically that is different from region to region, which is where it becomes tricky, because Carterton have invested really heavily in our water treatment over the last 15 years or so. It's been a big thing that our ratepayers have forked out for. And to then say, oh, well, we merge together, that's hard. But at what point do we say we've got to do it at some point? And it feels like the momentum at the moment is saying now's the time. And it's just going to be what it looks like.
I agree, Grace. We've been told by ministers that here's the carrot. So you either take the carrot or you take the stick at the end of it. And the stick that we've heard is called the backstop. But what's is contained within that backstop is not really known at this point. So for me, I don't really want to lead our community through the backstop process. I think we need to go through the front door process, the head start process, but there's a lot that we need to know between now and the 9th of August, which is when we have to submit our proposal.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of things in there. You're absolutely right. Can we afford it? Is the first question that we need to answer, or at least try to answer in the relatively short time that we've got. So we're undertaking some benchmarking with that, to look at a unitary council of a similar size that we may end up with, like Marlborough, like Tasman, like Tairāwhiti and Gisborne. They're about 50,000 people population, which would roughly be the same as the Wairarapa. So hopefully they can give us some indication as to whether or not we could run a unitary with this population base and be able to afford that. Because there's a lot of things that Greater Wellington do in the Wairarapa that we're not aware of and that we would have to pick up and fund ourselves. So that's the first question. I think the second question is, how do we make sure those services that the community really enjoys at local level aren't lost in some kind of amalgamation proposal? So the governance model and the governance structure and the management structure, more the governance structure, becomes really important. As the second piece, I think we have to consider what we do with public transport and trains, because they're a big piece of the cost pie that is in Wellington, and particularly in Greater Wellington. And we use it a lot in the Wairarapa. We've got a long train line with fewer customers. Wellington, if they consolidate their train line, they've got lots of customers in a short distance. So we need to deal with public transport. I think we need to look at the new planning framework that is coming out that will change the Resource Management Act, and that government has indicated, potentially may say 46% of resource consenting. That could be an opportunity for us. And finally, I think we've got to have an implementation plan that is credible. That earlier work that we've done in 2013 and 2017 may be able to be reused as part of that. And we'll do that as we can. But I think most importantly, let's get a little bit of information about, can we afford this, and then let's go and talk to the community about their views.
Yeah, and I think alongside that is the question of whether the community would be accepting of a lower level of service too, to help us get across the line with the affordability side of it. And that could come in the environmental space, where there might have to be a little bit more allowance of farmers going and doing work that Greater Wellington Regional Council used to do. So I think the RMA changes may allow some of that stuff to happen. So one thing for me that I'll struggle with, but I think we've got the right people in the right places to actually take over the Wairarapa, is the regulatory space. From a construction background, Carterton, and from my own, has been the best regulatory department to deal with in the Wairarapa, and that's certain people in certain places just being a lot more permissive than not allowing things to happen that they shouldn't, but just being a lot easier to work with. And I know that if the regulatory departments have to amalgamate, I think we have some very good people that I'd like to see, and I know that that's recognised by our neighbouring councils too, but I think construction and building companies in the Wairarapa would like to see an amalgamation of the regulatory space. And I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
It's great feedback. Thank you. I'll pass that on.
We hear it a lot. It's one of the main things, and I think for a lot of people that's the main way they actually engage with councils. Other than getting their rates bill, they have to get they're buying a house, they have to get those consents. They go, oh, I need to reach out to the council. Who do I talk to? And we've got such a great team, and I've dealt with them personally as well, and they've been fantastic. And it's really encouraging when you've got that expertise and you go, yeah, I'm a counsellor for that council. That's cool. But yeah, one of the things with this amalgamation conversation in my mind is I'm dubious of bureaucracy and how things can get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm really hoping that this is the opposite of that, and we're not just going to duplicate what's happening in Greater Wellington and put our councils together, and then we've got this big monster organisation that has too many councillors sitting around a table not getting much done, with too many staff getting paid big salaries. I think this is the time where we can customise something that actually is fit for purpose for the Wairarapa, and we know that Greater Wellington has some quirks, and some people in our community have thoughts around their involvement and their the way that they are very involved in what we're doing on our own properties. And I think the government have acknowledged that there's going to be changes to the RMA. Things are going to be more allowable. This is our chance to really change the way things are done here, and I think that's an exciting opportunity as well. But as Geoff, our CEO, mentioned, there's a cost with that, and we do have a small population, and we're trying to make ideally a unitary authority here in the Wairarapa that we can control our own our own destiny. But there will be a big dollar sign attached to that. So we've just got to make sure that we can make those customizations to this organisation as we develop it. We don't just take what's already there and smush it together, because that's going to end up not being much of a benefit for our community, I think.
Yeah.
Could I add?
Yeah.
I think we also need to be really cognizant for our community that we've just kicked off Waitī.
Yeah.
And that hasn't actually taken over yet. And for some parts of the community, that may also see a greater bill coming from a water entity, because there's more investment happening, there's investment needed in some areas because we are unable to grow. But we need to be conscious when we pull together a unitary organisation for the councils of what's left over, that some households may also be facing some challenges with the water bills that are yet to come. So we have to be conscious of things that we have done in the past that impact our communities before we make this decision. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of balls being juggled up in the air at the moment. And, government have really taken to local government over the last couple of years.
It's been their focus, They're trying to make some changes, and it's obviously it's long needed, but it does feel like you're just like, we're dodging all these things that are coming at us all of a sudden, and it's a lot for our staff here to keep navigating all this changing legislation. And then on top of all of that, we've got a general election in a few months, and so we've got these plans and we're doing all this work, and then the curveball, you could have a new government in October. So there's a lot up in the air. But we've just got to do what we can to make, put our best foot forward. I think this whole fast track process, I mean, we weren't elected to sit back and do nothing. And so I think it's an opportunity to say, okay, what's the ideal situation for the Wairarapa residents? Put that forward. And if the government say no, well, we've done all we can. And we leave it up to them to get the final say, I guess.
Yeah, well, an interesting article in the paper today was from our ex-mayor.
Yes.
I think it's fine for Ron to be suggesting how the Wairarapa should move forward into a unitary, but knowing the facts and figures behind that is going to play a big part into any decision that our three councils make in that space. So as much as you put it on the paper, and we can all say that we want a Wairarapa unitary to happen, and I absolutely do, it might come down at that as we move closer to this 9th of August date, that it's just not, the communities are just not going to wear, let's say, a 20-30% increase on rates to cover that cost. So I think we've got to be careful of how we're going out to the community with our communications, and I know that's part of what we're doing moving forward. We're going to be communicating that we're waiting till a certain point where we know more information, and we'll come out to you and ask these questions which have some answers behind them when you ask them.
Yeah.
It's one thing I was going to ask is where should the community go for some good updates, Geoff?
Yeah, so our website, our social media will keep everything updated. I think you're absolutely right. We'll go out with information when we've got it. So we anticipate we'll get some benchmarking information about the middle of June. We'll organise, I think, some public meetings in that later part of June, so the week of the 22nd. And that way we'll have an informed conversation with the community rather than an emotive conversation with the community about what they would like. Because I would like not to pay taxes, but an informed conversation means that it's probably unlikely going to be an outcome. But an emotional one would say, I don't want to pay taxes anymore. So I think it's really important that we listen to the community once they've been informed of what this may cost.
Yeah. And this isn't a new conversation. As you said, this has been done in 2013 and 2017. Our communities have heard this for so long, and amalgamation has been like this, don't mention the amalgamation word because everyone has lots to say about it. And actually, we just need to be able to talk about it, but we need to be informed when we talk about it. And I think we're in that fact-finding stage at the moment. And as governance, we're going to, Geoff, give us all the information we can because this is a decision we have to make. And we want to make sure that we've got as much information as we can before we make that decision. And that's exactly what this benchmarking is going to tell us. Can we afford to be an amalgamated council here in the Wairarapa? Or are we going to be looking at our neighbours over the hill? And that's ultimately what we have to figure out in the next couple of months. So it's no small task.
No, you did right. On the CDC website at the moment, there was some information posted about amalgamation. I think it was posted on the 26th, so a couple of days ago. It's really valuable information, and at the bottom of that, there's actually a link to the DIA website where you can find even more information on the simplifying local government, what the proposals are. So there is information on our website which I suggest you visit.
But I was just going to say, nothing really happens super quickly in council. So even though amalgamation is the subject that we're discussing, we're making decisions, things won't change tomorrow.
No.
So what does it mean for our council?
Once we lodge a proposal on or around the 9th of August, it'll go to Cabinet and it'll be considered by Cabinet in around September. If it's accepted, then they'll look to bring in bespoke legislation probably about May next year. And that will then introduce a change before the next local body election, which is 2028. So even if we agree by the 9th of August, we're going to amalgamate, we're going to become a unitary in the Wairarapa, it's likely nothing much will change for about 18 months, maybe 2 years. It's a long process.
And in the meantime, we're still going through our own long-term plan. Like we've still got our usual BAU plus planning for the future still continues. We've got to make sure that our town is set up for whatever comes next. But as you said, it might be 18 months away.
Deliver Carrington Park project. We'll deliver the intake works that we're doing. We'll deliver our roading program and our parks program. And So we'll continue to deliver for the community of what we've currently got in plan.
Agree, and I hear it around our council table that this LTP is probably one of the most important that we'll produce, because if we do decide to amalgamate, it'll help feed in there to highlight what our community really wants, and hopefully that fits into the bigger picture. So thanks, Geoff. I really appreciate you coming in and talking about amalgamation. We've got a few rapid fire questions just to finish off.
Okay.
What's your favourite coffee order?
Flat white. Quite picky about coffee, as some may know. I brew my own every morning, and as I come in, and I have my own coffee pot. I usually use Supreme blend. Sometimes I use Rich. So they're the two coffee brands that I prefer. But yeah, I'm a little bit picky about coffee.
Flat white
nice. And what about your favourite tipple? I know you like a craft beer. Do you have a favourite brand?
I do like, yes, I'm quite a fan of Supercharger. So, I quite like the
Panhead
Supercharger. But also, I quite like single malt. So
nice. And I mean, I'm sure Grace has got a couple of these that she could ask as well. What's your favourite place in Carterton or where's your favourite place in Carterton to relax, or even in the Waitī?
I like going bush. So Waihine Gorge track is probably my favourite spot. I love the swing bridge. A lot of people don't, but I quite like the Waihine and the Tararua ranges. It's just I feel very comfortable in the bush.
Yeah, well, I've seen a photo you have in your office with the dark sky above the swing bridge.
It's on our annual report.
Looks amazing.
It's a great shot. What's a local event that you never want to miss?
Look, I love our Daffodil Festival.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing day. To see the joy in people, and particularly small people, running around with flowers. There's nothing like it. It's pretty cool.
Catching that train and
yes.
the whole thing. It's just a very special wee time. And we've got plans in Carterton to make our Daffodil Festival an even bigger event. So that's going to be just a little tease there for what's to come. But watch the space.
Yep, it could be a month-long event. It's being looked into at the moment, which I think will be amazing. When you, as a follow-on from the Greytown Winter Festival that they hold over a month, I think.
Come to Carterton for spring.
Absolutely. I can see big benefit in that to our community. One hidden gem?
I'd have to say it's this place, the Wairarapa Event Centre. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's so heavily utilised at the moment, booked out. The events that come through, the shows that we see, just absolutely amazing. They get really good reviews. I think this is the hidden gem. I'd love to see it expanded. I'd love to see it be able to take 600-700 people as a really, really big event centre across the whole of the Wairarapa. One of the things we've spoken about, I think in terms of amalgamation, we need to consider our assets as well, in where we place those assets, so that we don't duplicate or triplicate things, which is essentially driving up rates. And the event centre is a great example of that. I'd love to see it expanded.
We're the heart of the Wairarapa. It makes sense for it to be based here, right?
Yeah. Totally agree.
Some might say I'm biased.
Yeah, some might. And what's the first thing you tell a visitor to do when they come to town?
I would say dark skies. I always talk about, my house is in the country. I walk outside at night and it's pitch black, and I look up. It's dark skies. It's just amazing.
Yes.
We was lucky enough as a social club to go and see Star Safari the other week.
Cool.
And I totally recommend it. It is amazing sitting there looking at Jupiter.
Amazing.
Billions of miles away, and it's just dark skies is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think we realise in New Zealand how lucky we've got it compared to so many other countries or places around the world.
You never see the stars.
Never see
the
the
light
stars.
pollution just kills it.
Yeah. So I can see big things with dark skies in the future for us in the Wairarapa. So, Geoff, I just want to thank you again for coming in and joining our podcast and sharing your views. So thank you for that.
Alrighty. Enjoy.
Thank you. So
It wraps us up.
It does.
Episode 2.
Before we sign off, I just really want to thank the community for the responding to our community survey. I thought the 760 responses, I think it really shows our community's engaged.
Yeah,
in
for a
what
turnout,
we
we just keep going above and beyond, don't we?
Yeah. I'd really like to congratulate all the finalists and even all the nominees in the Charles Rooking Carter Awards. It's a fantastic community event, and to bring everyone together and to highlight some of the special people that we have in groups is just fantastic. So
absolutely,
I'm looking forward to that going ahead in a week's time. Stay tuned for episode 3. Yeah, we'll have a new guest star. We will, which is undecided at the moment. So with that, awesome. Yeah, keep an eye on our council meeting agendas for things we have coming up, and also we have a council meeting. I think it's in maybe a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and if you want to raise something, feel free to come in to speak in the public forum, and also just come in and watch the council meeting and bring your popcorn. Yeah. So thanks, Grace, for joining us again, and I'm sure you're required back at home
back
with
to the
that.
baby.
So with that, we'll sign off. So
Cheers.
thank you.